Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the show for leaders who want real results, not more noise. Join Emanuel Rose as he helps business builders turn AI from a confusing add-on into a practical advantage with clearer messaging, stronger trust, and smarter systems. If you felt the shift happening in real time, you're not imagining it. In the agentic pivot, Emanuel calls it the move from experimenting with AI to building with it, so it supports your team, your brand, and your growth. Let's get into it.
$10 people, $20 million a year in 20 months. That is what the president of Y Combinator says is happening right now inside the best startups he sees. A team you could fit around one table doing the kind of revenue that used to take 100 hires and a war chest of money. That is not a prediction. That is already happened, and it changes what it means to start a company. So today, what AI actually does for a startup and what it still cannot do for you. I have built a lot of tools in the last few years, and probably there's a great sequence that I built, which takes transcripts and video and turns that transcripts and videos from prospect meetings, turns that into a proposal that has structured sections, and then that proposal then I can put into another tool that creates the scope of work, and then from the scope of work then creates the action plan. And so it takes these things that used to take a great amount of time, and it boils it down into minutes, and minutes for me to wait, and then minutes for me to review as human in the loop. And it has freed up considerable amount of time for me using just off-the-shelf AI tools. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI. I'm Emanuel Rose, and this is a special topic show. This week, the topic is AI for startups, and here's why it matters right now. The cost to start something just fell through the floor, and the speed went through the roof. If you are a founder, or you serve founders, or you want to be a founder, the old playbook is out of date. 4 things today: what the new growth math really looks like, my hot take on the word everybody is fighting about, the tools and the money moving this space, and a simple playbook to build something small and real this week. Let's start with that number from the top. Gary Tan runs Y Combinator, and in a recent interview, he said the last 3 YC batches have grown revenue about 10% a week on average. 10% a week. He said companies with 10 or 20 people are reaching $10 to $20 million a year inside 10 to 20 months. His words, that has never happened before in software. Sit with that. The thing that used to take a big team in years now takes a small team in months. I've been in sales and marketing for more than 30 years. I've watched a lot of cycles come and go. Never seen the cost of building drop this fast while the speed climbed this high. That is the real story under all the noise. Here is the second signal. At YC's Winter 2026 Demo Day in March, 14 startups showed up already past $1 million in annual recurring revs. That is the most in YC's 20-year history. Traction before Demo Day used to be rare. You used to walk in with a slide deck and a dream. Now you walk in with revenue. About 60% of that batch is building AI native products, up from around 40% in 2024. And 22 of them are solo founders. One person, one company, real money. Now look at the tools doing this. Lovable is an AI app builder. You describe what you want in plain English, and it builds the working software. Lovable told TechCrunch it added $100 million in revenue in a single month with 146 employees. 100 in a month, a team smaller than a lot of single departments. And they got to 100 million in annual revenue about 8 months after they hit their first million. That is not a typo. That is the new shape of a fast company. And above all this sits the model layer. In late May, Anthropic raised $65 billion at a valuation near $965 billion, with run rate revenue reported past $47 billion. Is likely their last round before going public. Here's what that means for you as a founder. The models are getting more powerful and better funded every quarter. So probably shouldn't try to build a model. Build on top of one. Let the giants spend the billions on the brains. You go own a problem. There's a deeper shift here, and I want to name it. For most of my career, the bottleneck was building. You had an idea, then you spent 6 months and a pile of money turning it into something real. AI moved the bottleneck. Now building is cheap and fast. The hard part is knowing what to build and for whom and why they'd pay. That is the human work. That is the part AI hands back to you. Which brings me to the fight everyone is having. Hot take of the week. Here's my hot take. Stop arguing about whether you are a rapper. You have heard it. AI rappers have no moat. They're all going to die. Just put a skin on somebody else's model. The truth is in there. If the only thing between your product and a person typing into a chatbot is one clever prompt, you don't have a business. That part is real, and most thin products will not make it. But look at the winners. Lovable is, by the strict definition, built on other people's models. It's at 400 million in ARR. Base 44 was built the same way. It sold for about $80 million. So the word wrapper is not the problem. Building something thin and easy to copy is the problem. The moat was never the model. The moat is the painful workflow you own, the data you collect that nobody else has, the brand people trust, the customer who'd be lost without you on Monday morning. Anybody can rent the same model you rent. Nobody can rent your relationship with your customer or the messy real-world process you've made simple. That's the asset. Build that. Own the workflow, and the model underneath it is just plumbing. Go own a workflow. Key companies and tools. All right, let's talk about who you actually build with and who is winning. Start with the builders. Lovable is the one to watch. Describe it, ship it, 400 million in ARR and 146 people. That's the describe it and get software category, and right now they're leading it. Underneath your app, you need a backend. Supabase is the open source platform a lot of founders and AI builders run on. Database, login, storage, the boring plumbing you shouldn't build yourself. We'll come back to their week in a minute because it was a big one. You need somewhere to run the AI. Model Labs gives you serverless computing and GPU access to run models and test AI written code. Their CEO told Reuters their revenue climbed to about $300 million, up from about $60 million in September. That's a multiple of 5 in just a few months. That is picking up shovels business, and it's booming. Then there's the agent layer. Decagon builds AI customer service agents, real software doing real support work end to end. They just tripled their valuation in under 6 months. And on the founder's desk, the everyday stack keeps showing up in the same shape. Cursor and Claude Code for writing software, GitHub Copilot, Replit, Vercel to put it online. That's the kit founders are using to ship in weeks instead of months. You don't need all of it. You need to pick a few and get good with them. So who's winning and who's exposed? The shovel sellers are winning. Supabase, Modal, the Model Labs. When everyone rushes to build, the people selling the picks and the compute get paid no matter who strikes gold. That has been true in every gold rush, and it's true in this one. Who's exposed? Anyone whose whole company is one feature a model could add next month. And if your product is a thin layer the platform can swallow, you're renting your business, not owning it. Own something they can't copy in a sprint. And I can't say that enough times. Follow the money. Now follow the money because the money tells you where some of the belief is. Here's the backdrop. In the first quarter of 2026, Crunchbase reports close to $300 billion in global venture funding. About $242 billion of that, near 80% of it, went to AI companies. 80%. The previous record was 55%, and that was just a year earlier. Let me reframe that for you. Money is not the constraint anymore. If you have a real product and real traction, the capital is there waiting. Look at the rounds. Anthropic, $65 billion, the biggest in the space, with names like Sequoia, GIC, and $5 billion committed from Amazon. Supabase, the back name that we just talked about, raised $500 million, led by GIC, at a $10.5 billion valuation. Modal Labs raised the $350 million, led by General Catalyst and Redpoint, at $4.65 billion. Decagon raised $250 million, led by Index, tripling its valuation in under 6 months. Notice the pattern. The biggest checks go to infrastructure and to companies with hard-to-copy revenue. The plumbing, the compute, the agents do the real work, not thin features. The smart money is buying the picks and the proven workflows. And then there's the exit that should be taped to every founder's wall. Wix bought Base 44 for about $80 million. The founder built it solo. He hit 1 million ARR in about 3 weeks after launch and sold roughly 6 months later. Woo! One person, $80 million, 6 months. That is the new ceiling, and it is a lot higher than it used to be. So here's the honest read. With this much money chasing AI, capital seems to be the easy part. And the easy part is never your advantage. If everyone can raise, raising is table stakes. Your advantage is a product people cannot live without, and customers who'd be upset if you disappeared. Money follows that. It does not replace it. Let me make this concrete with 3 real case studies. First, Base 44, we just talked about with the solo founder, launched in February last year, 1 million in ARR in about 3 weeks, acquired by Wix for around 80 million. By May, it was reported near 150 million in ARR, and the founder is on track for another 90 million if he hits his milestones. The lesson is not quit your job and go solo tomorrow. The lesson is that small and fast can now meet big and slow when you point AI at a real need. Second, Lovable, 400 million in annual recurring revenue, 146 people. Do the math. That's about $2.7 million of ARR per employee. Revenue per person is the new scoreboard. A lean team with the right product out earns a company 10 times its size and keeps far more of what it makes. Third, the honest one. Fortune reported on solo founders using AI to do work of whole teams, and they were straight about the limits. Burnout, blind spots, the human work software still cannot do for you. That's the truth I want you to hold. AI removes the excuse that you need a big team to start. Does not remove the judgment, the relationships, and the stamina the work still demands. The tool can write your code. It cannot care about your customer for you. The human is still the point. Tools I used this week. I have used Lovable for a few projects, and what it claims is that you describe the app you want in plain language and get working software back. The company reports 400 million in ARR with a 146 people team, and there's a free tier to start. From a blank screen to a workable app, I created a gift list app, and it took a few hours, and I was shipping a domain specific app. And Lovable is pretty awesome. If you have an idea of something that you want to create, it's super straightforward. It's really easy to use, and I encourage you to think of a problem and go and give it a try. Before you go, here's something you can do this week. The Lean AI build in 5 steps. 1, do not build yet. Spend the first days talking to real people and finding the one painful problem. Write down a guess you can prove wrong. 2, scope it to that single problem. If it needs a long explanation or has 10 features, it's not small enough. Cut it till it hurts. 3, use proven foundations for the plumbing, login, database, the boring parts, something like Supabase. Don't build what you can rent. 4, build with AI tools. Describe it builder like Lovable or Replit for the app, Cursor or Claude Code for the rest. 5, set a clock on every test, ship it, watch real people use it, decide, and go again. Founders are doing this in 2 to 6 weeks. Some are doing it in days. Narrow the problem, get real users, have short loops. That's the whole game. Everything else is decoration and public relations. So here's the one line I want you to keep. Own the painful workflow. The model underneath is just plumbing. You don't need a big team and a big raise to start anymore. You need a real problem, a small, sharp focus, and the discipline to ship and listen. The tools have caught up to your ambition. The question is, what are you going to point them at? If you're a founder or a leader who wants real structure around your planning, take a look at Strategy Navigator AI. It's an AI-powered strategy planning platform for founders, executives, and consultants. You can find it at strategynavigator.ai. If you got value from today, and I sure hope you did, please refer a friend or a colleague who's building something to subscribe to the pod where they like to consume that content. Go do something with AI today. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening.